do is while I invite them to come and grab a seat up here with me so we can have a little panel discussion, you guys can come on up. I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, and because there's 3 of them, I'm going to read. So here we go. Rex Mack, Asian American, Boston-based hip-hop artist, journalist, and 2019 Boston Music Award nominee. So I'm going to give you guys the link if you like what he's about. You can go check him out and vote for him later. Since 2012, he's built a discography of all self-produced projects. So we have IJ Chang. IJ Chang is a dance artist and educator, born, raised, and now based in Boston, and IJ is on the furthest from me. She graduated from James Madison University with a BA in dance and journalism. She's also interested in the intersection of the Asian American narrative in her work. And in addition to performing, she is passionate about bringing quality dance instruction to low-income and minority populations within the city. So again, people who give a damn, we're just all gathered here, and they love it. Kat Waterman is a photographer, videographer, and graphic designer who currently resides in Quincy, Massachusetts. And from promotional videos to event photography and promotional design, Kat does it all, hopping from scene to scene, effortlessly and seamlessly. I just added that at the end.
Yeah, thank you.
Just so you know.
Whatever works.
All right, so we decided that we were just going to do this kind of panel discussion really fluidly and flowing. And did you guys feel, when I first saw this project, I thought, man, they would be perfect for Flow because everything about their project, their 5-track EP, and I haven't seen the 5th one yet because it's not released yet, right?
The 5th song?
Yeah.
It was more like a trailer. That was the first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just kidding. It's out there. Everything about it spoke to me about flow. So I reached out to Rex, like 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, and was like, hey, you should think about this. And he was like, let me bring my teammates over here. And I thought it was going to be fantastic to have all of their perspectives, and you guys have a mic down there too.
Yes.
Perfect. Do you have any shots? Dramatic, but cool. All right, so we're just gonna have a really candid conversation. So when we were on the phone, we contemplated doing a 3-way conference called the old school way, but we ended up using a conference line, which ended up working well. You guys talked about how this is really full circle because you met almost a year ago to the date, right? So tell us about when you guys first met, what those first impressions were.
It's good, guys. So essentially when we met here, I think it was September of 2017. And so it was like a showcase of Asian American artists. And IJ performed this choreo routine to a spoken word poem. And it really resonated, and it stuck in my mind for a solid like 4 or 5 months. And we didn't talk for like a solid 4 or 5 months until I hit her up, just because there was no music involved, and she had all this really expressive movement. And I was like, wow, like the fact that someone could bring something so formless to life like that, it was very animated. So with this, the project that I produced, predominantly, a lot of the tracks just don't have drums. It's very airy. And I was like, wow, she could probably bring a skeleton to this record. So I hit her up, and like I think, what was it? We had like just a chat at a bar, and I threw some ideas her way, and she was super gung-ho about it. And from there, we just kind of coordinated and just went with the flow, and then this manifested. So.
What about you guys? First impressions?
Mine?
Or yeah, this
Okay.
guy hits you up. He's like, hey, you performed together. What's like going through your head?
No, I mean, so when I first saw Rex perform, I was into it. I was like, this dude is a one-man show, and also, being in a space that is at an event that was highlighting Asian American artists, that was really important to me. Collaborating with other like Asian American artists or POC is very important to me. So it was like when he hit me up / slid into my Instagram DMs. that's how it happened. Yeah. So
Not sexually.
No. Just had to clarify.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Clarify that.
That can mean a lot of things. So yeah, as soon as he said like, hey, you want to collaborate, I was down. Yeah, we didn't talk for a while.
Yeah,
What about you, Kat? known each other for longer. Right?
Yeah, so basically Rex and I went to college together. We went to Stonehill College, and kind of weird situation, similar situation. Like we didn't actually become friends until after college. Like we knew of each other, we hung out a little bit here and there, but we didn't become like close friends until after. Then of course, like I'm his photographer, videographer, graphic designer, and so he'll have me come to all the events and stuff and film him. And when we came to the one where she was performing, I had no idea what to expect. I literally had no idea what she even did. And so when she got out here and did her thing, I will say something happened with the audio, and the speaker, I think, stopped talking and you still dancing.
Yeah.
I thought that was part of it. Like you just went with it, and it was just so it
Flow.
very well. Good example. So yeah.
Very nice. So, how did the project actually come about? Because it seems to be a lot of components that go into this. Rex, so you produced all the music for it. IJ, you did all the choreography, and then even Kat, from a cinematography perspective, like you have to really like capture flow,
Yeah.
pick the right scenes, pick the right place. So how does that work with three completely different creatives?
I want to say it started with the beats. I mean, this project and the sound that it has, it lived in my head for a long time. And I think over the past 2 years, I think the first album that I heard that really made me want to explore a sound like this was, I don't know if we have any Frank Ocean fans in the room? Blonde? All right, cool. I'm not alone. Tight. Yeah, the album's called Blonde, and like a lot of it doesn't have any drums at all. It's very textural, it's very moody. And I love that he worked with this, essentially this invisible landscape. And I wanted to play with this idea of unlocking out of my usual format, which is predominantly hip hop. It's a lot of, it's very egocentric, it's very first person, autobiographical, very revealing. And I wanted to detach from that usual formula just to explore something that's low pressure. Something that's not as vulnerable, and maybe just on first impression, it's just, a feel. So I'd never done an instrumental work before, but I felt like, okay, I need a palate cleanser right now, and let's just throw people completely off track. Because people, like friends and people in the area, somewhat know me for a lot of beats with hard-hitting drums, and it's just very in your face. And I feel like foundationally I'm a hip-hop artist at the end of the day, but I needed to just cleanse. And I think another thing that came to mind was, so when I fold laundry, first of all, I have a folding laundry playlist, and like, just like music to soundtrack like the mundane parts of your life. And I'm like, okay, when I'm not on stage, I just like to unwind, and I like to have like, my little self-care grounding rituals. And I have a playlist for that, and I noticed that all those records just don't have drums. It's like super vibey, and YouTube recommended just takes you to a lot of places, like like a lot of like Brian Eno, a lot of Ryuichi Sakamoto, just like people who just use instruments and synth pads, layers, but the idea of using the least amount of instrumentation possible to communicate the most amount of feeling that I can. I think that was my main formula. So I didn't want the record to be about me. I just wanted it to live on its own. So, and I didn't even want my face on the cover when I promoted it. I didn't want my name on the cover. I didn't want to be the subject in the videos. And I was like, screw it. Like, I just want to have a Beyonce moment and have like a visual to each song. But I figured, I was like, okay, who's the dopest subject? Like, who's in orbit right now that I could choose to really communicate this vibe? And that happened to be IJ, just given my experience in watching her perform for a spoken word piece that didn't have music. It was so formless. So yeah, from there, I just hit these two up. We had 2 or 3 powwows over drinks, and then next thing you know, we're just like in random fields and like garages shooting stuff. So yeah, if you guys want to talk more about that.
What about from your perspectives? Like, how was that? You get the music, like from a choreography standpoint, from a cinematography standpoint. Like, and I don't know how like the venues were chosen and how you decided to do like even the curtain scene, like with the sheer curtain, like all of these things, like where did they come from? Because that's not an accidental thing, right? Like sheer curtains
actually.
Oh, actually, was it like happy coincidence or like how does that come about?
Okay, so the curtain thing. So our first shoot was at Studio 550 in Central Square, and it's a beautiful little studio about like half the size of this room. It's square. There's like a pole in the middle, so. But it does sometimes double as like a performance, as an informal performance space. It has lights. The director did a really, really good job of setting that up. But one of the things that we found there was this like suspended curtain that was on a wire, like just like this one, and we just dragged it out. We're like, oh shit, let's use it. Let's get entangled in it.
All right, so there's definitely in this whole process, like how much of it would you say is flow that's like coincidence and you work with what you had, and how much of it was by design? If you had to get, and we'll give each of you a chance to answer that on a percentage base. How much was chance? How much was design?
It's like 90%.
Yeah.
90%
Yeah.
chance?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So here's the poetic thing about it. So the scene, the scene that they're talking about, the fourth track, it's called Holding Space, and that was the first shoot that we had of the 5 visuals. And so at the studio, you know, we find the cloth just hanging there, and I don't know, like there's all these weird serendipitous things that just manifest when you trust the process. And I think with that particular shoot, so the record is called Holding Space. Like I know that, you know, the formal definition, it's, you know, it ties more into communication and, you know, communication styles, but for that phrase itself and what it meant to me when I was making that beat, you know, I always loved like the imagery that comes with the idea of holding space. Like I thought of a god, you know, kind of like playing with the galaxy in like a holographic screen or something. And it's so like trippy. And so the idea that the sheet was just hanging there and it was so transparent, and IJ comes into it and it's almost like a spider that gets lost in her own web, and then at the end it just shows her floating and complete with a black background. There was just a lot of happy accidents like that happened. And a lot of the environments that we did choose to shoot in front of, we were just kind of walking by, or it was decided the day of. You know, it was in the summer. It was like back in, you know, June, July. So yeah, we were just trying to work around the heat.
It was
like,
very hot that day. I'm really shocked that there was no sweat marks in any clothes when she was dancing. But I will say, for me, I'm a planner, so to really throw that out the window, to throw that out the window and just be like, you know, we're gonna wing it and see what happens. Like that was just very out of my element. But because I've worked with him for many years, we've been friends forever, and I trust him. I also trusted her because she's danced for her whole life. So I figured, you know, we got people who've done this their whole lives, and you know, we worked as, you know, friends as well. Like the vibe was there. So it's just, I guess, a lot of trust at that point. It just ends up being a lot of trust. But
On a scale of, on a percentage base, what would you say?
oh, me or her?
For IJ, yeah.
Oh.
Serendipity. For you as a dancer, like how much of it was choreographed like you knew, and then how much of it was... Okay, so you just went in and vibed it out.
So the only video that I had real choreography to was the one in the garage.
Okay.
That was the only set thing because I knew that I was coming into this. I was like, there's 5 tracks, and I don't really want to tie anything to it because sometimes like over choreographing something or tying certain movements or putting my own emotions into it, I think would be too much and then take away from it. So I listened to the tracks a lot beforehand to prepare, you know, when I was doing work or whatever. So I was familiar with them, familiar with the rhythms, but it was all improvisational, except for that last one, which I did pull out like a phrase that I had been working on in a studio by myself, and I had just like pulled that out, rehearsed it a couple times. I said, okay, I'm gonna do this. So yeah, it was just, yeah, that's the way it felt to me. So
it's like 90% chance across the board?
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So Kat, you hit on this a little bit. on a scale of 1 to 10, right? So you said you were very, like, it pushed you out of your comfort zone. But I wanna, like, so tell me a little bit more about that, and then I wanna hear about how much out of your comfort zones on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being like, completely out of my zone. And 1 being like, hey, I was super comfortable with this, I do this all the time. Like, how far out of your comfort zones did this project put each of you?
Yeah, I mean, because, like I said, because we were pretty much familiar with each other and you know, friends, it wasn't stressful. Like, I'm sure it would be very stressful had I not known them previously. So, you know, that wasn't as bad as it could have been. But in terms of, what was the first part of that question?
Like, just on a scale of 1 to 10,
Oh.
how out of your comfort zone?
Honestly, I would say only like a 6. It really wasn't that bad. Only, again, because I've been doing a lot of dance videos, honestly, with in the Latin dance community, and a lot of them, they do a lot of improv too. So it's a matter of me, I'm basically dancing around with them. But I just have a camera. I just don't look as pretty or cool or fluid as they do.
Cool.
No, I just try to stay out of the way and make sure my camera doesn't get hit by a styling hand or something like that. So that's the only time I would say it's scary and you know.
I
Yeah.
kind of want to see a demo, but
You know, there's been, yeah.
Carmen
Carmen
the
understands.
cameraman, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say Carmen totally understands that he's
Yeah.
in the community as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, it's yeah.
A 6.
Yeah.
Rex or Idris?
Personally, for me, the whole point of this record was to be extremely low pressure. There was so much self-editing with the last album I put out in 2017, and I'm just a hyper-editorial person. You know, and even with this process, I had to fall back a little bit. Kat would tell you otherwise, but you know, I told myself, you know, fall back a bit, trust the process. When it comes to putting together things like this, you know, I mixed the record, I, you know, produced it, but also when we were out in the field, you know, shooting, I was just, you know, I trusted IJ to just come prepared. And honestly, like the first times that, you know, those shots that you guys just saw, those were the first times that I was seeing it too. And we did probably like 4 or 5 takes per shoot. But with that part, that was something that I really had to engage myself into. But overall, the project, I want to say it's like a 1 or a 2, just because the whole process for me was just about, you know, reset, like the feeling of a clean desktop or something. You know, there's always this relief that comes with that. But I'm a pendulum, and I know that, and I think that usually when I do something explicitly hip hop, I'll usually have like a side project I'm tinkering with that usually delves into other sounds. You know, I think that we need that, personally.
For me, it was probably around like a 6 or 7, just because it's not so much of the dancing that was making me nervous. It's also like, I don't really do, that was like the first like real video project that I did. That was just me. Like I've danced in front of cameras for, you know, in like a group context or whatever. So there's other people sharing the space with me, and there's other ways to connect. And a lot of times your focus isn't directly at the camera, but this time it was. And also, and as a, like when you dance for film and everything, your focus is completely different. It can't be, it's not always at the camera. Sometimes it's right beyond, or sometimes you have to pretend that you're looking at something that's right here. So in the process, I kind of had to keep like, almost playing, like, kept trying to play like games with myself. So I was like, okay, like, not trying to fall into the same movement patterns that I always fall into. And that's what I've learned, just like becoming like maturing as a dancer and growing as an artist, is that you have to keep things fresh. And that's like over and over again, like every opportunity that you get is to keep playing games with yourself and saying like, okay, well, I always do this thing. How can we do something absolutely opposite? You know, how do we contrast the music? How do we go with the music? X, Y, and Z. So it was a game for me. But it took, and he mentioned that, Rex mentioned that it was like 4 or 5 takes. I don't think I was comfortable until like maybe like the 3rd or 4th. Like, you know, take 3 was like, okay, like I'm starting to get into it. The 1 or 2, I was just like,
4 or 5 days is still pretty fantastic because having kind of been in this like, recording world of any kind, I will tell you, that's pretty spectacular, 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, I mean, I just started videography this year. Like, this is all new to me as well, so I'm learning as I go. But I'm also learning alongside the performer, whoever I'm shooting, that yes, it takes at least 3 takes for you to get comfortable. Just understand that, oh, there's a camera here, it's not a big deal. And obviously, if you feel like it, alcohol and pot works. You chill. It does help a lot.
Yes.
But obviously, within balance, within balance. Moderation.
And about getting into that state, right? Of
Yes.
however you achieve that, right? How did you guys come up with the name? Her name is Happiness. Is that
All him.
Max?
That's all
I
him.
don't know.
It's a trip because like usually I like titles of the work that I produce to have some sort of layer underneath. And I love to hide Easter eggs and subliminals. But with this, it was the first time that I just, I wrote it down on a piece of paper and it just looked dope to me. Like it looked like it could be like a Hemingway novel, or something. And like the first title that I was going to name this was Monet, because I was like in this really like just deep in this impressionist phase. And a lot of his work, a lot of his paintings, like especially like a lot of the nature landscapes that he paints, they're very airy and they're very light, a lot of pastels, y'all know. And so that was like the first name, but her name is Happiness. I think, I don't know, you got me thinking about it now, like maybe it's more subconscious than I think. Just because I know at the time I was in a better state of mind than I was when I made the record before this. So maybe I was speaking for my soul a bit. Maybe it was actually about being at peace with things and just trusting the process. So perhaps.
It was about mental health issues, right? And that was the one in 2017. A Bloom?
Yes.
A Bloom, yeah. So there definitely seems to be that kind of connection. Right. So what I'm going to ask next is kind of on an individual level, right? We're going to kind of bring it down to the individual level. I'm sure everyone here either feels a resonance toward like one creative type or even your different personalities, right? But you guys are very different in your own right. So how do you kind of achieve your own personal flow state? Like, do you have, I know for myself, breathing is huge. Stretching and like feeling present is huge. When I do this, when I perform on stage or any of that, but what do you guys do to get in a space? So you're headed into a studio and you're producing a track. Like, do you have any exercises like that you could share with people or routines? We'll start with IG.
Oh.
You're okay. Because you look like you have an answer kind of, but I don't know if it was like, don't pick me.
No, I'm not thinking. So actually, it's funny you asked me that question because recently I've actually discovered that so I have part of what I'm trying to work on is calming my mind down. I have a gajillion different jobs. I'm a performing artist. I dance professionally, so that means dancing for multiple people at one time, and then also having multiple side gigs and hustles to make ends meet, which means I have 6 different schedules I get to keep track of, and so my brain and the gears in my head are always turning. And so when I head into a rehearsal or when I'm in the creative process, sometimes it's really, really hard to turn my mind off and focus on dance or focus on creating or focus on retaining the material. But you got to do it. You have to manage. You have to be a professional and you have to suck it up and do that. But one of the things that I actually started learning, instead of being focusing on how tired and exhausted I am, I just I give into it because that's the truth. I'm just honest with myself. I'm yes, I only got 3 hours of sleep last night. Yes, I'm surviving on coffee right now. And yes, I've been up since 5 a.m. But
okay?
not good.
It's like a sweet surrender.
Yeah, no, it's a surrender
surrender.
because this past weekend I had 3 marathon days in a row where I was up at 5 a.m. and I had it was you know, I had worked a job, and then I was rehearsing, and then I was also like in class, and then also performing at night, like 3 days in a row. And then I was like, how am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed? Jesus, please help me. But actually, I find that once you're honest with yourself and you just kind of like give into the fact that you're tired, I was fine. I actually find that when I'm tired, I dance better. It's weird because you just forget all the anxiety and energy or whatever goes out the window. There's no time for that. So you just listen to the music and you listen to whoever you're dancing with. I had a duet partner at the time, and so we were just listening to each other, and you're just honest the whole time. So yeah, so I just trying to shed that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm actually reading a book, I think I already talked about it 4 times, Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth, and he talks about that very thing, like how to be present and conscious, and like if you just call a thing, like you're tired, just accept the exhaustion, say that is where I am, and accept it, and then it just wakens up this whole other side of you. And like you talk about holding space too, he talks about space and like, and how to like create that in your life and not run on stress. I think creatives tend to run on stress. Anybody feel stressed sometimes? Right? It's just, if you guys have not heard the book or have not read it, go out and get it. It's amazing. It's rocking my world right now. But it's very resonant with that. This whole idea of like, I'm not going to lie to myself and tell myself I'm not tired. I'm not going to pretend something. Like sometimes I come here, I'll tell you guys exactly what it's like. I'm like, I am exhausted. My child is sick. Like I always have like a state of being, but you just throw it out there. You let the energy go, and then you just do what you gotta do, right? Yep. That's what I hear. It works. Kat? You're up.
I will say, I don't have as much pressure as a performer does. So I don't have a mantra, I don't really have a thing that will make me calm. But I think in all aspects of my life, I do what you do. I literally, if I'm feeling something, it's out there. If I have to bitch about it, I will. I'm sorry. It may be annoying to hear, but like that's how if I hold anything in, it's just, you can tell. I can't, you know that phrase, fake it till you make it? I can't do that. That's just not in my body, it's not in my mind, emotions. I've always ran my entire life. If you're feeling it, just let it out. It's how you're feeling that, like you said. Just let it happen. And that's it. There's no secret. There's no process that I do. I mean, and Rex can tell you this. Like I know myself very well. Like I think more than a lot of people will know themselves. And because of that, it's just I don't know. It's just that's how I roll. You hang out with me. It's pretty much this is how I am.
It's true.
How about you, Rex?
I'd say, I mean, get your body right. I think that comes to mind first, like just basics, like, 6 to 8 glasses of water per day, hydrate, yo.
I knew someone was going to bring up the like good stuff.
Lemon water in the morning, yo. Lemon water in the morning, like shit, apple cider vinegar before you go to bed, a little bit of honey. That'll get you in the good spot.
Straight?
Some people do it straight, but I like to do, like a teaspoon of honey, and then 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar 30 minutes before bed, and then dilute that in a cup of water. Dilute that in a cup of water. Boil some water.
That's hardcore.
Nah, some people do that. I'm not at that level yet. I'm working my way to it, though.
Yeah, if you want to ritual, this guy has way too many rituals.
Yeah.
Half of them I'm pretty sure doesn't work. It's
It's a work in progress.
It is for sure placebo. He'll be like, yeah, man, I just did this weird exercise I found on YouTube. I'm like, what?
I get over enthused by productivity and self-care videos on YouTube. And it's, maybe it's more or less a vice of mine. But I do like to indulge in watching media of other people decompress. It's, it's a guilty pleasure. And I think, I love to, make myself like a guinea pig. And, everyone's on this wave of meditation right now, which is great. And like, but I think the important thing to take away is that from the culture right now is that one size doesn't fit all. You could, there are some basic foundational things physiologically that you could use for yourself, but I think mentally that's a whole other thing. Sometimes, I know I need a grounding ritual in the morning. I know that, I need to stretch. I need to have, lemon water in the morning and maybe a bit of coffee. And then for a bit, I'm off rhythm right now, but I write these things like these little blurbs to myself. I call them thankful for, is just shit I'm thankful for in the day. And just like, 4 bullet points, and just like, write, people, places, events, things that like were dope about your day, or things that you're really hype about that's about to happen in your day. And also just speaking positivity out loud is key. And also the opposite, like if you got a homie that you can call at like 3 o'clock in the morning and have an existential crisis with, do it, strategize. I think strategizing pockets in your day where you could feel everything, as pretty much everyone said, is key. Like, cry it out, like have your tantrum, like, just throw shit off your desk, whatever you gotta do. Maybe not the last one, but like, if your routine allows for that, you have your base physiological things, but find pockets in your day to just feel everything and then just bounce back.
Yeah,
My backs are the best.
Yeah, I've heard you say that. Like, a big majority of my stability has been literally my friends. Like, I swear, like, if he wasn't there for a lot of the stuff I went through, in terms of just emotional, like, stress of like, oh my god, I'm gonna make it as a videographer, photographer, whatever, like, it would definitely take a toll on me, I think. And I think because we have such an open conversation, communication, I mean, obviously, if you have a therapist, great, awesome, but like, we're each other's therapists for the most part, and I think it's gotten me through a lot of things. Also, my parents are really good people to talk to, but yeah, friends are key, good friends. But, yeah.
Facts.
Awesome. So I'm just gonna end with one question, and if you guys in the audience have 1 or 2 questions, start thinking about them. But my last question to you guys is, what's next?
Damn.
Good question. He's
What are you gonna blow into
next? He's the idea maker. I'm just there with the camera.
Dancing around. So.
Yeah, dancing with the camera, but
I need to see
We're
that
gonna
sometime.
switch roles.
he's gonna be the dancer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rock that pink dress with Jess's. Nice.
You cannot have that.
Y'all wanna go? I need a moment to think. As to what's next.
What's next, like, for us, or like
Yes,
us
together.
Yeah. Are you guys thinking about doing a?
I'm always open to it. I'm always open to collaborating with these two. I mean, like, it's funny because like their friendship is goals. Like, it's so cute and adorable and so strong, and I feel like I'm just like this tricycle wheel.
No, you're the light.
See?
But I just feel like I'm mad grateful for, these two, the energy and stuff. Cause honestly, when we were creating together, it was just natural. Like, I'm sure you can tell, like, we're just all individually, like, giant goofballs. So half the time when we were doing the stuff, we were just like, like it was kind of limiting productivity at times, but it was so fun. Like, it didn't feel like work to me.
And those are the best
Nothing.
projects.
Yeah.
That's why I want to work with you guys on way more stuff. Problem is, you guys are way too busy.
Yeah, we're
Like this one, as you
We're busy.
heard. Yeah. This one, as you heard, has. Oh, I guess I'll take that. This one has dances 24/7, and he works a 9-to-5 job, and then by the time he gets out, he's crashing. Like and I wish I could say I was busy, but if anyone wants to collaborate, But yeah,
Yeah, but that's the goal, is to become a freelance artist. Right?
Yeah.
I'm working towards that. But,
exactly. You're already doing it. I will say, like, I'm in the beginning transitional phases of like trying to get the clients, and I mean, I wish I could say I was as busy as you guys, but right now I'm kind of winging it. I just bought my brand new camera set, and I have to play with that. I haven't been able to touch my camera yet to play around with it, but I'm like super excited. This is the first time, honestly, I've felt like a real, quote unquote, a real artist, and he has yelled at me for many, many years because I never saw myself as a real artist. And in my head, a real artist is someone who wants to do their craft every day, no matter if they're getting paid, if they, you know, if they're too tired, they still want to do it. I never had that passion. I've always liked photography. I've always liked drawing, painting, all that stuff. But if you told me like I had to take a week off to do it or to not do it, I'd be like, okay, whatever. But with videography, I found out like it just all makes sense to me, and I love being able to like create those angles and make people, promote people like IJ and Rex to be their best and do their best and get it out in the world. And that's my passion. I don't know what it is, I don't know why, but I feel most useful and most like an artist when I can help other artists. and yeah, I don't know why, that's just how it works.
Yeah, there's so much truth to that, and I think a good thing to keep in mind always is that passion happens by accident, and it doesn't always occur within your discipline. You know, Kat and I are just finding our rhythm after doing like so many video and photo projects together after 4 years. And now I feel like, you know, with this project we have something in our reel that's like a true collaboration, and that, you know, is a little more long form than our other endeavors. But you know, like the fact that, you know, we're all in like our late mid-20s and shit, and we're still finding ourselves in like, you know, I think there's so many other blanks to fill in. I don't know like what we're gonna do all together next. We haven't really talked about it. We're still like reverberating, and like, you know, this is a very low, like fly low on the radar kind of project. We didn't really market this heavy. I just wanted this to like, I envision this hopefully in like 30 years. This is like some sort of like vinyl with cobwebs on it in the back of like some collector shop and shit, and that's like a rare collector's item and shit in like my Discog. Yeah, you know, I've had this weird vision for you, but as far as solo works go, I do have a project in the works. It's back to hip hop, semi-confessional. There is an event that I'm lining up here in the spring. If anyone is a neighbor or anyone in the surrounding area, yeah, I'll be in touch about that. There's going to be a lot of color in 2020. That's all I will say. But, yeah. Nah. Nah, 'cause it's color is all I will say. Just because it's tied, like by day, I design ads, and I think like the whole branding element and the way that you execute your work into the world, it's equally as important as the work itself. You know what I mean? And just the means of like, you know, there's a graceful way of doing it, especially since like attention spans are here, and you know, it's like a 1.5 seconds, you know, you're scrolling down the brand, and you know, that's like the net that you have to like get the ball to. It's like a really short window. So given that, I want to treat this event delicately. Thank you for being enthused about it. But yeah, it's
so cryptic right now.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. Sometimes the blank is a lot more powerful than what you fill it with.
He just wants to be frame motion, guys.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Strategy helps, man. Yeah.
But in terms of projects, yeah, I mean, ideally, if we had all the time, I would love to be a podcast or YouTube channel with these guys. Like, the vibe is just so chill and fun, infectious, and I'm sure you guys go on YouTube, but like, there are a lot of YouTubers who are talking about absolutely nothing, or just regular, everyday things, and yet you're captivated, and you agree with them, and you feel like you're in the ring with them, being best friends. That's how I want this to feel, and I'm sure you can see it, but like, it's to put that out for other people to see, like, yeah, you can have a cool creative group. Look, we're one of them. But yeah, I would love to do that someday. But you gotta quit your job, and you gotta get, you know,
Less busy.
less busy.
All right, well, you know what, I was gonna take questions. Did anyone have a burning question? Okay, we'll take one question.
You absorb from collaborating with each other on the individual creative processes.
What are you absorbing?
I got some. Patience. Patience. In that, you know, it's not reflective of my relationship with these two. I think just in general, I don't collaborate a lot. You know, if I ever collaborate with another musician, they usually say, oh, do like one verse on my song, and I'll hop in, do what I want to do, how I do it, and then bounce. Whereas when it comes to like the studio and the music process, I edit things on a very molecular level. So, and I have my own language and how I do things, and yet I have not been trained. Like I never took any music theory classes. Like didn't go to Berkeley or anything. I just do it the way that I do, and to some it's kind of intimidating, and I have like this Prince level control freakness. But with this, the reason why the record was so quiet, and it was just so airy, and I just wanted them to, fill in. And I think watching and trusting what other people come up with, that was a big thing to learn out of this, and it's a skill that I hope to employ in future works should I collaborate with other people for that. So thank you for that.
I will say, I mean, working with him for years, yes, he is a diva. I love him to death, but oh my god. He's very much an artist. An artist working with artists, I don't know if you've done it before, but it can be hard because you end up being married to your own idea, and if they're married to their own idea, then you have a lot of headbutting. But I will say, he did a pretty good job of letting us do our thing. Well, especially me, because we're in the visual side. So, it was definitely way more fun with this, but I definitely learned, I mean, every time I do a video project with anyone, I learn other people's processes and what I take from it most of the time. I think particularly with dancing is I learned how dancers will move and what they will respond to, and I also learned how to stay out of the way. But yeah, it's each video, each time I've done videos with dancers or just people in general, I like to learn about vibes and the different kind of vibes and how I'll react with their vibes. But yeah.
For me, I think it was a lot of how to craft a movement to every video so it wasn't the same. So again, playing those games myself. But also, yeah, like working collaboratively, like these two have zero ego. So it was just easy. Because I've definitely been in processes before where people come in with their egos and stuff, and that's why you said, like, working with other artists can be difficult because sometimes it's like, oh my god, I'm the most creative, I have the best idea. I'm like, no, you don't. Get out of here. Get out. That's what, when I come in, I approach it with like, I'm here, I'm always 100% a student, first and foremost, no matter how old or whatever I get. There's no, my learning and my growth will never ever stop. And that's kind of the way that I've been approaching things lately, because a lot of people lately have been asking me, like, so are you choreographing? Are you, doing your own work? You have your own company? I'm like, no, I do not. Because listen, I have a handful of mentors and these two and stuff that I just want to be this sponge and see how much information I can take in and how I can express it and use it in processes like these. So I have all these tools and everything that I can use, but I'm coming to peace with the fact that I can be comfortable saying no, I'm not going to be a choreographer, I'm a dancer. I create work when I have something to say, but if I don't have anything to say that I don't feel like saying, I'm not going to say it. So.
Sounds good. We are at the time where we have to end. I think this could go on forever, but I want to thank you all for coming and staying and hanging out with us, and I want to thank these guys again, if you would give them a round of applause for doing this.